The world's richest men and most powerful autocrats are now setting the new, very personalized rules for American foreign policy. And this is all happening while a conservative administration launches what is, well, arguably the largest deregulation plan in U.S. history. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're on a high-speed mission, really, into the machinery of power itself. We'll be digging into sources that reveal this massive government restructuring, some very high-stakes global deal-making, and, the perpetual battle for military superiority in the Middle East.
What really jumps out from all this material is just the ambition and the sheer speed of this America First agenda.
Right.
I mean, we are seeing policy moves that overturn decades of precedent in just a few months. And this pace, it's fueled, at least in part, by this atmosphere of heightened domestic security concerns.
You mean the headlines we've all been seeing?
Exactly. The risks tied to vetting processes. You see things like an Afghan national arrested in Texas on a terror threat charge, or vetting coming under fire after that shooting in D.C. And that kind of thing, it puts immediate political pressure on Washington to act decisively, across the board. Security, the economy, all of it.
And that urgency seems to be showing up most dramatically in domestic policy. So let's start there with the sweeping changes at the Environmental Protection Agency. This is a story of some radical restructuring under the new EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin.
Yes, Zeldin's appointment on January 29th, 2025, it really marked an immediate philosophical shift for the agency.
His confirmation was tight, wasn't it?
It was, 56-42. But the interesting part is the three Democrats who crossed the aisle to vote yes, it sort of signaled this bipartisan appetite for a new approach, one focused on energy independence and less federal overreach.
And his background in the House probably prepared him for this mission.
Oh, for sure. He served from 2015 to 2023. He came in ready to reframe the EPA.
And that reframing wasn't exactly subtle. I mean, we're talking about a declared mandate to shift the EPA's purpose away from public health and environmental protection.
And directly towards aggressive deregulation and boosting energy production. The change started fast.
How fast?
By March 2025, Zeldin announced what he himself called the largest deregulatory announcement the country has ever seen. This wasn't about, tweaking a few rules.
No.
This was about pulling the rug out from under decades of environmental regulation.
Okay, so let's unpack the biggest target in that agenda, because it's a piece of legal groundwork that a lot of people might not even know exists.
Right. We're talking about the endangerment finding.
Explain what that is.
Well, simply put, this finding declares greenhouse gases a public health threat. And that is the entire legal hook that lets the EPA regulate things like tailpipe emissions or smokestack pollution.
So if you get rid of that.
If you repeal the endangerment finding, which Zeldin announced plans to do in July 2025, you're not just getting rid of one rule. You are literally eliminating the legal basis for almost all federal climate action.
A core philosophical shift.
Exactly. Removing the entire regulatory foundation.
And beyond the legal foundation, the sources show Zeldin is also dismantling the physical structure of the agency.
That's right. The plan includes cutting the EPA budget by a staggering 65%, and maybe even more profoundly, eliminating its entire scientific research arm.
The Office of Research and Development.
Gone. The closure was announced in July. And, this raises a pretty important question. If the goal is still safe and affordable energy, where does the administration get reliable, non-compromised scientific data if they've eliminated their own research capability?
And the practical implementation was almost instant. I mean, we saw sources saying how quickly industry moved on that.
Oh, it was immediate. By April 15th, barely a month after the announcement, nearly 70 coal power plants had been exempted from environmental restrictions.
And the process for that was simple.
Astonishingly so. In many cases, companies just had to send an email requesting the exemption.
Wow. Just an email.
Yep. It's all about speed. Bypassing years of traditional, cumbersome regulatory review in just a matter of weeks. And this push, it aligns perfectly with the Republican goal of addressing affordability ahead of the 2026 midterms.
It seemed to follow that playbook from the previous administration, like slashing prices for cancer meds through Medicare.
Exactly. The theory is simple. Federal regulations drive up costs, so remove them quickly and you relieve the financial burden on citizens.
That domestic focus on business, on financial benefit, it seems to be changing how the U.S. does foreign policy, too. Let's shift gears from the EPA to global affairs, because diplomacy is supposed to be about national interests, but now we're seeing this unprecedented personalization of power.
It really is a new era of deal-making, one where personal financial ties between powerful individuals seem to be dictating national strategy. And the clearest example, of course, involves Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS.
And his deep connections to the administration.
It's a relationship that's been intensifying since 2017, marked by these huge deals like that $300 billion arms deal.
But the personal financial stakes are what make this so different. I mean, Jared Kushner's firm, Affinity Partners, getting a $2 billion investment from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Right, the PIF.
Yeah.
And that ties directly back to a really core constitutional concern, the emoluments clause.
How so?
Well, the sources note that the millions of dollars that the PIF-owned Levy Golf pays to use Trump's courses. That's a clear and constant breach of the emoluments clause the moment he takes office.
Because it's a payment from a foreign government.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The clause is there to stop federal officials from being swayed by personal financial gain from foreign powers. And this intertwining of personal wealth and critical security decisions, it's just highly unconventional.
What's fascinating to me, though, is MBS's attitude about it. He's remarkably blunt.
Absolutely. When he was asked about critics calling his investment strategy sports washing, he was just transparently cynical about it.
What does he say?
He basically said he doesn't care what they call it. If it increases Saudi Arabia's GDP by 1% and he's aiming for 1.5%, he's going to keep doing it.
Which is, I guess, a refreshingly honest statement that he values measurable economic gain over pretty much anything else.
Or a terrifyingly honest one, depending on your perspective.
Equally unconventional is the role of someone like Elon Musk, who is basically positioned as a key presidential advisor.
Yeah, the Musk factor is critical. His influence stretches across every sector that defines modern national security: AI, big tech, space with Starlink, the EV market, you name it.
And his PAC gave over $120 million to the presidential campaign.
So he has a powerful vested stake in policy outcomes. But his reach comes with huge geopolitical risks.
You mean his international business ties?
Precisely. He has close relationships with geopolitical rivals like Vladimir Putin, and Tesla's biggest manufacturing hub is the Shanghai Gigafactory in China.
So you have concerns about tech leakage or foreign coercion?
It's immediate. The sources point to reports that Putin allegedly asked Musk not to deploy his satellite internet service in Taiwan. Just think about that. A private business decision that could directly interfere with U.S. national security priorities.
And if we connect all these high-stakes personal relationships back to regional stability, the threat of Iran is always looming over everything in the Middle East.
Iran provides the context for every single security decision here. I mean, MBS gave this stark nuclear warning. He said, any country use a nuclear weapon, that means they're having a war with the rest of the world. The world cannot see another Hiroshima.
That's some strong language.
It is. But even with that hostility, you see these tentative diplomatic steps being taken. Remember that photo from March 2023?
With the Chinese mediating?
That's the one. Iran's Ali Shamkhani shaking hands with the Saudi National Security Advisor. It just shows you the complex environment the U.S. has to navigate.
Okay, so let's transition now to military strategy, to the highest level of technology and this whole debate over Israel's qualitative military edge, or QME. This is where we see the intense commitment needed to maintain regional stability.
QME is the official term, but really it's a long-standing legal requirement. Congress formalized it in 2008. The U.S. is obligated to ensure Israel maintains military superiority over its potential adversaries.
And the logic is that Israel is smaller, so it needs better tech.
Exactly. Smaller land area, smaller population. So it has to rely on superior equipment and training to maintain its security.
And right now, that edge really rests on the F-25 Joint Strike Fighter, the one they call the Adir.
It's a fifth-generation stealth aircraft, and it provides a massive advantage over older regional fighters. Even newer ones, like the UAE's Block 60 Desert Falcon, which is only considered a 4.5-generation fighter.
But what gives Israel a specialized edge is their customization, right?
Yes, exactly. They operate what's called the F-35I software. It allows their fleet to work independently of the global support system, ALIS or Odin.
So they're not hooked into the same network as everyone else.
Right. They don't have to rely on it or share data with it. It enhances their operational security and their independence. It's a huge deal.
Which brings us to the controversy that put QME back in the spotlight.
Yeah.
The potential F-35 sale to the United Arab Emirates.
That followed the Israel-UAE normalization agreement in August of 2020, and congressional lawmakers, they immediately raised alarms.
And the concern was twofold, from what I understand.
Yes. First, the threat of imperiling QME itself, of Israel losing that decisive advantage. And second, the very serious risk of sensitive U.S. technology falling into the hands of adversaries.
Like China, Russia, or Iran.
The big three. Through the purchasing nation. These are the underlying security concerns that tie directly back to what we were talking about at the start, the need for rigorous control and vetting.
So how does the U.S. normally handle this? How do you sell advanced arms to Arab states while still preserving Israel's QME?
It requires some very complex mitigation efforts. For the UAE sale, they looked at things like limiting the number of F-35s sold or selling a deliberately less advanced variant.
But the most common way is with offsetting packages, right?
That's the historical approach, yeah.
Mm.
Boosting Israeli defensive capabilities with other weapons or more military aid.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. A classic case was in the early 90s. The U.S. sold F-15s to Saudi Arabia. To maintain QME, Israel received a massive package in return. It included advanced Apache and Black Hawk helicopters and the prepositioning of defense equipment right there in Israel.
That's a constant balancing act.
A constant balancing act, and it requires continuous risk assessment.
And the political instability of the purchasing country is still a huge concern, separate from QME.
Absolutely. Israeli intelligence officials have always had this deep-seated fear that political upheaval in a country could mean advanced U.S. weapons fall into hostile hands.
They point to the Iranian Revolution in '79.
That's a historical precedent. The Shah had ordered F-16s, but the revolution happened before they were delivered. They had similar concerns during the Morsi presidency in Egypt. This fear is not hypothetical.
And it's still dictating policy now. We know Qatar formally requested F-35s.
And Israel's intelligence minister immediately opposed it, cited the urgent need to maintain QME. So yeah, this battle over the military edge is very, very far from settled.
Okay, so to quickly summarize this deep dive, we covered the radical and rapid overhaul of the EPA under Administrator Zeldin, focusing on deregulation and budget cuts. Then we look at the new era of personalized diplomacy, where figures like MBS and Elon Musk have this unprecedented financially vested influence over U.S. foreign policy. And finally, we examined the enduring high-stakes commitment to maintaining Israel's qualitative military edge in a, highly volatile region.
And if you connect it all to the bigger picture, the sources reveal this single, consistent policy approach. It's built on a core conservative belief that, economic strength flows directly from aggressive deregulation.
Right, from removing federal obstacles.
Exactly. But, and this is the key part, that pursuit of economic strength has to be fiercely guarded by uncompromised national security. And that means careful, calculated control over where America's most advanced military technology goes.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Considering Zeldin's strategy of radically cutting the EPA budget and eliminating its scientific research arm, does reducing federal environmental oversight simply shift the burden of proof, the cleanup, and the financial risk onto state governments and ultimately local taxpayers? Something to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive.